Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to the Know Your Gear QA podcast number 299. Almost 300. Almost 300 episodes. Crazy. This is crazy. All right, I hope everybody had a good week. And I'm just checking everything to make sure it works in my little control station here. And I'm still grabbing some questions. I got some early riser questions. I have some questions that were emailed to the www.knowyourgearpodcast.com. That's the new website where you can submit questions that will be used for not only these shows, so you know, it's just we're going to do some additional QA videos and stuff throughout the year, so you might get featured on one of those, so on. And so, like I said, please, if you submit one of those, thank you. I appreciate that. And also you can find any other information on that website as well. So there you go. And all right, let's get into it, shall we? First we should do the big announcement. So as you guys knew, as you know, we gave away a 5815 LT pickup from PRS, along with a strap and a bunch of other accessories to do the ultimate, including some locking keys, the ultimate PRS SE Upgrade Kit. Something my wife came up with the idea, hey, let's do some giveaways and stuff on Instagram, since she runs the Instagram for me now. And Gene at PRS was kind enough to trick us out, have cool stuff, and we threw in a shirt and some stickers, and we have a winner, and the winner is Marsha T. There you go. I put the announcement. I've also messaged her, so once she confirms that she's the winner, then that's done. If for some reason she doesn't message me back, or for some reason she doesn't want it, we'll pick another winner and I'll make another announcement. But I don't know. Hope that isn't the case. I hope she is excited about it. All right. What else? I know it's pretty exciting, right? I think that's pretty cool. I love doing these giveaways. We have another giveaway coming up soon, and I'm not allowed to tell you what it is. And I'm really glad, because I was going to make the announcement today, and I got an email this morning from the company saying, please don't announce it. So I'm like, all right. But what I can tell you is exciting is, I'm pretty sure unless it gets delayed some more, it will be the next giveaway on the Instagram. And what it is it's a new set of pickups coming out from a company, and I'm doing the review video, and then you'll get the actual set I used to review. So it's a kind of cool and what's nice is it's a brand new set of pickups, so you might win them before they actually ever hit the market, so you get them early, because I've had them, and obviously that's what they're doing, is they're pushing back the release date. So pretty cool stuff. And actually there's 2 sets of pickups, I think, for that video. So, what do we have? We have a lot of people here. Thank you so much for joining. We see a lot of moderators here. You can see them there in blue with a wrench, and then you can see members. They're in green, and members and patrons support the channel. Of course, so does everyone who watches and gives a thumbs up. And that brings us to one of the early questions that that is a super chat as well. So let me get to that, since we'll get it out of the way and destroy the show forever. All right. Okay. Where's it at? Where's this question? All right. This one came from Vimps69, who says, Phil, when YouTube demonetizes a video, do they take all the super chat money too? ? If so, is there another way that we can tip you? ? Okay, so let me go ahead and share what that's about. So last week's show was demonetized. In fact, I'll see if I can go in and share with you some stuff. This may not be interesting, so I won't spend a lot of time on it. I just want to let you know why something like that might happen. So what does that mean, demonetized? It means that basically last week's show, I got a message from YouTube, I think Friday night. It could have been early Saturday morning. I don't really remember exactly when it happened. I just remember it wasn't that long after the show. And it's YouTube, and they send you a message saying, hey, you have this video has been deemed not suitable for most or all advertisers, and that it'll be restricted and kind of like demonetized that way. And it says, if you think this is an error, please make adjustments to your video. In other words, you can remove stuff. After a video has been posted, you can actually edit, delete stuff out. And that's basically what they're telling you to do, is like delete out the thing that was getting you demonetized, and then let us know, or just let us know you're not going to do that, and you can ask for a manual pass, which is like a person with their own eyeballs on it, and they'll verify if there's a problem. So I asked for the verification, and then they came back and said, yeah, it's demonetized. So the question from Vims was, when that happens, how does that work? Well, the super chats, so you guys know, when you guys super chat me, I'm jumping around screens, I really apologize. When you super chat me, the deal is the same deal as with everything with YouTube. YouTube gets like 40 something percent. They say 40, but let's just round that up, because it's like 40 and then fees. So like I said, on a super chat, if $5, I might see $2.50 of that, right? So I say half. That's the best way to look at it, because that's how it kind of feels. Keep in mind, there's really no really accurate accounting. Google doesn't really give you a whole lot of accurate accounting. They kind of give you like, this is what you made, and you're like, sure. So no, with the super chats, they're not messing with that. And so you understand, that's why most shows on podcasts like this, whether on iTunes or like we are, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, you name it. And then of course on YouTube, they need sponsors, because the ad revenue, the revenue that you get, is not a whole lot. So to say that I got demonetized isn't really the issue, in the idea that this is sponsored by patrons and members. So this is just like a normal show, like any other podcast that has a corporate type sponsor. We just have viewer sponsorship, which I think is unique and cool. But what does that really mean? Let me show you. I'll share with you guys, because maybe you guys care about this stuff if you're curious. I always like this kind of stuff, because it kind of tears rumors down and kind of puts hard facts into it. So what I'm going to share with you is some metrics here, if you don't mind, right here. And you're looking at actual stats. These are my actual stats numbers. And so what you really want to pay attention to is not to this where it says here, that's been limited and restricted from advertising. So the ad suitability was the issue. The issue is really this. Look here, we got, if you go down, you'll see, okay, let's just look back a little bit. I got a show, it's got 42,000, 37,000, 52,000, 77,000, 58,000, 192,000, 44,000, 48,000, and then last week's show, 26,000, which is about 10,000 below normal. So demonetized, see, I'm laughing because you're going to laugh in a second too. Demonetized is like, I could have lost up to $100. I'm not exaggerating. That's probably the revenue lost. The difference between that 26,000 and maybe 36 to 38,000 could be as high as $100 to me in my pocket, and it could be as low as $30. So I mean, when you're crying the river of like, oh, they took the money, it's not nothing. I don't want to say that's nothing. I'm just saying it's not like, wow, huge. What happens though, as you saw, is because they're not monetizing it, they're not sharing it either. So YouTube isn't helping share the video. They're more inclined to share videos that are monetized, that can fully be monetized and make money. So that's kind of what happened with that. Now, I made a post about this. You guys knew. I knew what happened. I just want everybody to know what happened, so in case they saw something a little strange. Because I'm already seeing comments like, "Hey, I didn't even see the show got published last week, and all of a sudden now I'm finding it." It's you won't get notified because they're suppressing it because it's not monetized. I'm just letting you guys know, so you guys check that out. This episode will probably be also demonetized because whatever it is, the subject matter, which seems to be whatever it is, it seems like we're talking about it tonight again. So it'll be demonetized again. Hey, it's funny. It's part of the gig, man. I see a lot of people get upset about it. I don't get upset about it. It's not, I've insulated the channel in a way that it can survive this kind of stuff. And that's, like I said, through you guys. You guys have the support. So until you guys tell me there's a problem, i.e. the patrons, members, the people who are supporting financially, tell me, hey, this is an issue with the show, that's kind of really the issue there. So if you guys say, hey, I like the show, and then YouTube suppressed it, I'm like, oh, then we won. So I'm just wanted to share with you guys. Mike says, do they tell you why? No. Generally speaking, though, and again, I can't tell you for a fact because they don't tell you exactly. In fact, what they give you is a list that's so long and vague that it could be anything from, anything, to be honest with you. Usually, though, for them to hit it that fast, it's the title. They didn't like the title. Last week's title was originally called whatever the question was, which was, do YouTube reviews, change the pricing, of gear. The video was then changed, not for the demonetization reasons. It was changed because it was a better title. The title that kind of rolled off the lips a little better was, do YouTube reviews increase the price of gear? A little faster. It wasn't so long. Sometimes when your title's really long, it's half of it. You can't see it when you're scrolling, and then you'll lose out. And we wanted to maximize clicks because the fact that we knew it was being suppressed. So if any of you could want to click on it, that was kind of like, let's make that as enticing as possible. So they don't tell you why. We can assume that it was probably the title, something about YouTube, criticizing the YouTube platform, and maybe maybe that's what did it. Who knows? Some people said it's a freedom of speech thing. I don't really think so. I mean, I think advertisers have the right to put their ads next to whatever they want. And if it's deemed that some advertisers don't want to advertise next to it, it's fine. But my real concern is whether or not you guys the people who want to watch the show get notified that it exists. So that's why we have www.knowyourgearpodcast.com. So you could go to it and find it there. So if you feel like YouTube is suppressing the show on you, well, then go to the website and there'll be links and stuff there. So there you go. And so, it's not uncommon. I'm sure you hear it all the time from YouTube channels. It's not uncommon to be demonetized for all kinds of reasons. Everything from copyright strikes to, everything. You name it. It's been hit. Okay. All right. Let's but that's also means, I think, actually, and I said I would be brief and then I'd take it forever. I also think that means we're doing the right thing here. I kind of feel like if you're too, I don't want to say not edgy, but if you're not, I basically, I think if we're sugarcoating too much, if no one gets offended, if no one is unhappy with what's said on the platform. Again, this isn't a show about upsetting people or shaking the industry, but I mean, obviously it's trying to be truthful and upfront. And if you're truthful and upfront, something's got to land wrong, right? It can't all be like, kittens and puppies. Okay. We have questions. Let's get to some questions. Let's do some early riser questions. James says, so Phil, if Fender can change their limited status, I'm sorry, I'm laughing because I already know what this is. Okay, if their limited status of the production amount of the Marlin Blue Her Strat, can't Badlands increase the GX1 amounts also? Okay, so what is this? James, I wouldn't have saw it, but I saw Guitologist SPF. I'm trying not to say the bad word. SPF show today, and one of the subjects I was interested in was that subject because I knew he had talked about it before, and also I knew it was available, and I was really curious because I had a really different take than maybe his, because I'm such a gear nerd. Everything goes to gear nerd in my mind for me. So if you guys don't know, let's actually look. I'll share it with you guys. I'm gonna see what this is because I didn't find anybody talking about this one particular thing, and I could be wrong because hey, let's just pull up. Let's just pull it up here. Okay, so let me share this with you guys. All right, what we have here is the Fender limited edition Her Strat in Marlin Blue, and Blue Marlin, okay? And the importance of this is they were going to do 300. That is confirmed. Not only did I see the Guitologist do it, but I saw somebody else confirm that it was published that they were making 300 of these limited edition guitars. Looks like they were made in Mexico for $13.49. And then shortly thereafter, the verbiage changed to limited to orders taken in 2023. And there could be, and what's really interesting is that could have been a typo mistake, which it doesn't look like that's the case, okay? because of, and again, we can't rule that out. So we're not saying, it's just saying, if I was going to bet, I would bet that it wasn't the case. I would bet that they changed something. And there could be some reasons why. And of course, it could be because maybe they don't think they're going to sell 300 now and they want to drag it out and see how long, right? Maybe make 50 and not look embarrassed. That's a potential answer. I'm going to go over the potential, all of them. There is another answer that is interesting to me, and it's because if you look at this guitar, this is essentially a flip-flop finish. See here? See the purple fades to blue, like the Paul Reed Smith John Mayer Nebula. And then I was like looking at this, and I thought this when it first came out. I thought, this is a smart move. It's so smart. Here's why. If it is smart, it could be just dumb luck, right? But if it is a tactical marketing move from Fender, it's a genius one. Basically, what you do is you go, look, what's the most iconic? If there's one Paul Reed Smith Silver Sky right now that is iconic, it's that Nebula one. I mean, they went for crazy money, $6,000 for one. And they're not making them anymore, right? Those were discontinued. So it makes sense for Fender to make a Nebula flip-flop finish guitar, because let's face it, it's just flip-flop paint that you can get on anything. I mean, Kiesel has it as a standard option, almost all their models. You do a model with that, and then you put an artist next to it, because then it doesn't look like you're just flat out going, everybody's not going to go out flat out and go, oh, well, Fender's just making a Nebula now. You can go, no, this is her, the artist, this is her guitar. This is her signature guitar, a limited edition, just like the John Mayer. And so here's why I'm really curious. If that is the case, my gut instinct when I saw it was they were going to sell those 300 in a minute, because you have all these players that really kind of want that Nebula flip-flop finish. And here's a Fender for, I dare not say affordable, obtainable price. I mean, $1,350 is a lot of money, but not compared to the crazy, Susan's like, what's flip-flop paint? It's sometimes referred to as chameleon paint. It has another name, an official name for it. It means that as you turn it, if you guys remember, I did the Ibanez guitar, it does that too. As you turn the guitar, the finish changes chameleonly. It goes through like green to purple to blue, right? So sometimes referred to as a flip-flop finish. And then I forget the official name. Somebody will put it in the, put the original, there's a real name for that paint. So put that in the comments if you guys know it, for everybody. Anyways, my point is they could have sold the 300 out and in a minute, and then thought, whoa, we're on to something really big. Let's ride this out for the rest of the year, and then put it for 2023 to see how many orders they get from dealers throughout the year. So that could be the thing too. So why did this come up? Well, this came up because James said, basically a Fender can change the status and say, hey, it was limited. Why can't Badlands? This is a great idea. One, I'd just say on the ethics on that alone, I wouldn't do that. Okay. So let's just say that. Okay. And so you understand I kind of painted that corner for Badlands on my video when I said we expected to sell, 3 and we can sell maybe 50. And the reality was, I think I talked about this, we had the discussion, all of us. There was, the entire team that work on the guitars, that build the guitars, that, manage the dues, everything from who does the internet, the website and the social media. And we said, well, why not? Hey, why not 60 before we officially close the doors on the 50? And here's the reality. We just physically can't make more than 50. I mean, there's just no way to physically make them and get them turned around in the time we promised and hit all the promises that we made, which were many promises that we made about the quality and everything. So, I mean, it was just like, okay, we can't do it. So then there was a secondary discussion about what about doing a second run? In other words, not so much, maybe do 50 and then 3 months later, open up another 50 and then call it, right? Because we can retire at any time. And the reality is that, one, it's an ethics thing. It's like, look, we said max is 50. We got 50 orders. That's really pushing it. We can come up with reasons in our head why we should try to push it to, more. And, but realistically, it's what we said. And like I said, we feel confident 50 is a good number to build and that we can manage that. And trust me, and just also so it doesn't come up later is like, oh, so you guys thought about making, even though you said you only do 50. Our concern was we turned down about 50 offers, our 50 other orders. So again, you're sitting there in a meeting, you have to discuss all the ideas. And of course, one of the problems is if you shut down a line of limited edition instruments, when you have as many orders that you can't, or attempted orders as you have orders, you might have a problem with your secondary market getting, kind of like the scalping thing going where the people are. Oh, by the way, Abe says it's ChromaFlare. There you go. Thank you guys. Simon says ChromaFlare as well. Thank you. And so then we were like, well, how do we stop that? And, we decided, look, it's our first run. Let's just do the 50. We said we'd do 50. We'll figure it out from there. You know what I mean? We'll go in the next run and figure it out. So that's why. That's James. That's why your question is. That's why we can't do that. Badlands can't do that. Fender, they can do whatever they want. That's on them. I think it's obviously another bad optics issue with them. I hope it's just a misprint, but who knows? The good news is, like I always tell you guys, the artists don't receive a whole lot of money for these guitars. And so. At least more guitars mean she gets paid more because she gets a royalty from that. So good for her. Good for the artist. I think the artist should be supported when they do these collabs. I know sometimes it's so easy to get on the artists and be like, all the things that I hear on the internet or see on the internet about artists being greedy. And the reality is, having no skin in that game. In other words, as I'm not an artist and I haven't done licensing as an artist, and I don't license, we don't license guitars with artists. That's not something that's in our business model. It's going to happen. I find I see more companies taking advantage when they can than the artists. And I'm not saying, I don't want to point fingers. Artists aren't perfect either, but, more times than not, you see kind of like the guitar companies taking advantage that I see of the artist than the artist the other way around. That's just my opinion for whatever it's worth. And so I like seeing the artist come out ahead. And I think she's coming out ahead in this deal. And the guitar looks great. So order one. Why not? It's pretty cool. So, although I'd like to point out that for a little bit more, you can get a Delos in that ChromaFlare paint job. And I think that's obviously my choice. So, 3J Music says, hey, Phil, have you ever kept a piece of gear or kept something unmodified strictly for the sake of videos? For example, not changing out a speaker or pickup so that it can be accurate. Yeah, let me make sure this is clear, because sometimes, there's a YouTube presence. I make content, and the content sometimes becomes, even my closest friends seem to confuse sometimes the content I make and what my personal life is. Because, like I said, it's, because it's really the same person. I'm the same person, both sides. I don't really change, when I'm not on YouTube. I'm pretty much the same. But obviously what I do on YouTube is more for viewership and then less for me, right? I'm not really sharing a whole lot of things about me all the time. So reason why I say that is in the majority of my guitars, like look at some guitars behind me. And again, let's just take a look. I'll look at the screen. So that G&L is unmodified. That Charvel is modified. It's been painted in new pickups. The PRS behind me is not modified. The Floyd Rose guitar is not modified. The Delos Kiesel is not modified. The Beltone, the other Kiesel, the Nags, the Gibson, this Fender, this Dane Electro. There's another Fender, Ibanez. None of those guitars are modified. So out of all these guitars, I only have one guitar is modified. So the reason I say that is I don't really modify my own guitars a lot. You got to think of it like exactly, and again, this is just for the analogy's sake. Think of me like a mechanic, okay? I work on cars all day. I show you how to fix your car. And when I go home, the last thing I want to do is work on my cars, okay? I got into this because I love doing this. And then I turned what I love doing into making money, which is, fixing people's guitars and modifying them and doing that. And then that later translations into showing people, which is on YouTube. But once your job becomes the thing you love, you don't tend to do that all the time. Like I don't really mod my own guitars at night going, oh, this is cool. Because to me, it's like, oh, I should film this. And if I'm doing that, then I'm working, so to speak. So I don't mod a whole lot of my own instruments. So that's the first thing to point out. But the point of his question was more so not about, which ones I mod, don't mod. He wanted to know if I purposely don't modify something for the sake of video. And I actually have a great example of that. My 65 Deluxe Reverb reissue that I've owned before I've had my channel, I bought that amp used for $350. Boy, that feels like I feel like back in my day, I could get a Coke for a quarter. Right? By the way, kids, I could get a Coke for a quarter. So anyways, that amp I bought used, and it came with a British greenback selection in it. That's what's in it. That was originally in it, and I would do my review videos early with it. And then one day I thought, okay, well, now everybody's going to be like, well, I don't know what that amp sounds like with a greenback selection, especially an old one, because it was really old and it sounds amazing, especially in that amp. And it hurt my soul to do this, but I did it. I took that speaker out and I put the stock, I had to buy one online, the stock Jensen that comes in that amp back in that amp. That's what's in there now. It's a good speaker. I have no issues with that. However, that greenback selection is sitting in a little box, like a selection speaker box, a cardboard box. And the day I don't use that amp for YouTube videos, that speaker's going back in it. In fact, sometimes I go, oh, I should put it back in there and just start disclosing, hey, now it's got a greenback selection in it. But so yeah, sometimes you don't want your stuff modded for videos. Another example of that is sometimes you guys see me using some of my guitars that I love in videos, and a lot of them have like my pickup, a pickup that I wound, a Blackstock Northern Light that's like a hot rodded PAF that I like. And again, you won't have reference that pickup, so I tend not to use those guitars in videos more than a little. Like, in other words, usually if it has nothing to do with the guitar, maybe like a pedal demo, I'll use it or something like that. But so yeah, so sometimes you don't want to do the modded stuff. And Adrian, hold on a second. Adrian says, hey Phil, what KYG merch would you like to sell but don't currently stock? Keyrings, picks, beanie hats, tools, or even socks? It's a great question, especially since we're actually in turmoil right now dealing with that. We had obviously me talking about Teespring last week and having issues with them, and I've removed them from all of the YouTube videos, by the way. They're no longer embedded in any of the videos. At least I think so. When I say that is, I went and did it, and I looked and I can't see it. But so if any of you see it, just you can let me know. But I mean, obviously it just means we have residuals out there, but it's been removed. Hold on a second. I'm gonna grab a question real quick so I have it. Okay. Long story short, somebody reached out to me and said, hey, I do merch and I would love to do your merch. And so, of course, I handed it over to my lovely wife, who now has the horror of not only running Patreon for me and now Instagram, she's now going to run merch. Nightmare for her. That will be her main focus for me to help me on the group now. And she has samples coming right now as we speak. And we're going to change the merch lineup, level it up a little bit with quality, because again, we're not really happy with the Teespring stuff. And then that's something that will be done then. I know she added picks because I saw her order picks. So we'll have Know Your Gear picks. I think that's to be included with the shirts or something like that. I'm not sure. But to answer your question, I haven't thought about keychains. You said keychains, key rings, picks. Picks, yeah. Beanie hats, I don't know. Socks, maybe socks called Last Days. Know Your Gear Last Day socks. I would be up for that. You know what I love? The reason I like this question, obviously, was early questions. So that's why I grabbed it. But also, if you guys have suggestions, you put those in the comments of merch you'd like to see. Like I said, I'm more of a t-shirts, although the hats are coming right now. In fact, she sourced the hat. Finally, we have the hat I want. So she sourced it from that company. You'll see why when you see the final hat, why I've been so picky. There's just a hat I like. Look, I'm a guy with a haircut that needs a hat, okay? So I'm very particular about the hat and how it feels on my head. Okay. We have Ray. Ray wants to know, hey, Phil, did TC Electronics go out of business? No, not that I know of. TC Electronics was purchased a while back now, like quite a while back, more than 5 years ago, I would say, for sure, because it's, a few years before COVID. So I want to say 2016 seems right. They were purchased by Behringer. So I would imagine they wouldn't go out of business because Behringer's too big. I would say that if they're gone, which I don't think they are, and I'll explain that in a second, they would be shelved. So let's just, I'm not saying that happened. I'm just saying that would be the terminology. They wouldn't really kind of go out of business. They would just get, as a brand, be shelved and not used. My understanding is they're fully used by Behringer, and Behringer still owns them, and everything is fine. I have no reason to think other than that. However, you have to understand, because Behringer purchased them, in that purchase, one of the things that happened was, of course, they were immediately removed from companies like Guitar Center, who does not and does no longer has a relationship with Behringer, which was a very public. That was a public breakup, the Behringer Guitar Center guys. If you guys ever Google it, it's funny when Behringer basically said, hey, we're leaving Guitar Center said, hey, we're kicking Behringer out. And Behringer's like, no, we were leaving because you didn't pay us. See, you didn't pay us? And then Guitar Center's like, no, their stuff's crap. I'm paraphrasing, right? All this stuff. And what I remember about it to this day is then, for some reason, Sweetwater out of nowhere posted a thing saying, we've been with Behringer for years and we never had a problem. And also, I think they alluded to something like, but we also pay our bills. It was a weird, and again, I could be magnifying it and making it sound a little bit worse than it was, but that was the vibe you got from it. I don't think many people would be taking a much different vibe than I just explained away from that situation. Not normal to see big $100 million companies be publicly fighting each other. But yeah, so no Behringer at the Guitar Center. John wants to know, Phil, do you ever use an electric screwdriver during repairs and making pickups? Pluses and minuses versus manual? What do you recommend? If you guys watch me in a lot of my videos, I have a screwdriver set that was given to me by a customer that he worked at Lowe's. God, I hope I don't mess this up. I hope he didn't work at Home Depot. He worked at Lowe's. I'm pretty sure that's accurate. And he gave me the screwdriver set, and I think it's Cobalt, and I think that's the brand at Lowe's. Again, if I'm wrong, just insert Home Depot into what I just said. Anyways, they're a Cobalt. You can tell they're blue and gray. They're almost in every video at some point. And they're ratcheting screwdrivers, which means not only, the ones where you turn, but you also put your hand in the middle, and as you turn, they basically always turn. They're always continually going even though you're going backwards, back and forth, they continue to go. So like a manual electric screwdriver, but of course, no electricity. I use those the most. I tend to only use the electric screwdrivers and the electric drills, like those kind of tools, when, I'm doing a lot, like 50 screws. Let's go ahead and get that out. Let's not take 10 hours. Ideally, I have no issue with it. I've heard people they'll say in a video, like, oh, you stripped that screw. And I'm like, I don't think they understand. You set your electric screwdriver or drill so that when it gets a certain amount of tension, it just starts clicking, because it's not going to strip out that way. So a lot of times that's what they heard, is the clicking. But in the video, I guess maybe it sounded like I was spinning on the screw, but it was clicking. But that being said, thank you for saying ratcheting. The main reason I try to stay away from them, there's a reason why I try to stay away from electric screwdrivers when working on guitars. It's the weight, and they're heavy. And so because they're heavy, I try not to bring anything that's, if you drop it, it's going to chip or ding the guitar, right? Not that it's going to be much better if you drop a screwdriver on a guitar. It's going to be pretty bad. But sometimes if you drop a heavy a drill on something, it's a mess. So you kind of think about that way, right? So again, and sometimes they can slip off and stuff. So you just try to do it as, as easy as possible. So you have to weigh. To me, it's a weighing my options kind of thing. Like, I don't want to take the risk of damaging this guitar, but if it's going to take forever, maybe I'll kind of like, okay, let's just take a little bit of that risk, be a little extra careful, but speed up the time frame. And then sometimes if it's not a long time, why take the risk? So again, Super Lead 100 says, hey, Phil, I'm curious how you would compare a Blackstock PAF, he's talking about my Northern Lights pickup, to the Dimazio 36th anniversary. Oh, that's a great comparison. How are they similar and how are they different? Well, Dimazio 36th anniversary pickup is a very special pickup, whether you realize it or not. Larry Dimazio owns a 1959 Les Paul. He bought it new in 1975. It's a real one, of course, but I mean, he's had it. It's more of a, it's more than he just has a 59 Les Paul. He's had it for longer than I've been alive. So, no, that's 75? No. Okay. Not longer than I've been alive. Not quite. So, anyways, he's had it for a long time. When they made the 36th anniversary pickups, I'm not even sure if I'm supposed to say this. So somebody, hopefully he said it out there somewhere. When they made the 36th anniversary pickups, I think Steve Blucher designed them. And when they designed them based on Larry's pickups, but with one change. They made the pickups and they put them in Epiphones and compared the Epiphones that they had purchased with these different pickups, these 36th anniversaries, to the original PAFs that were in his 59 Les Paul. And they did that because they were trying to achieve the same sound. So they were trying to get the Epiphones, these other guitars that maybe have a harder finish and a little difference about them, sound more like his 59 Les Paul. And they believe they got there and they did that. And that's what the 36th anniversary is. It's a clone of his very special pickup from his very special Les Paul. So why does that matter? And to your question, well, why is it different? How is it different than my pickup? Easy. His is basically a PAF and mine is a PAF that's got a little bit more mid push and it bites a little harder. And I know that's like weird terminology, but all you have to think of is if you put those two pickups in the same guitar and strubbed a chord clean, my pickup, you would hear a little bit of the growl on the end, just a little bit, and his pickup would be very soft, right? And that's good. So that's what it is. It's very subtle. It's a very subtle thing. It's 1% different. No, it's more than that, but it's 3% different. So there you go. But so you know, those two pickups you mentioned are some of the pickups I use the most in guitars. Okay. Hold on a second. Jumping around here. Okay. We have just some guy says, "Hey Phil, what do you play when someone asks you to play something?" You know, I don't know. Here's what I will tell you. Let's play a game. I like games. I have a guitar here. That's turning off the sound. Turn on the sound. You're going to hear my mic and the signal of the guitar. So what would I play for you? So I guess Bowling for Soup. To answer your question, to be honest, obviously that's what I thought of. This I just figured out the guitar was in drop D as soon as I heard it. Luckily I heard the note real quick and I was like, oh, I think this string is drop D. So in drop D, I'd play that. To be honest with you, one thing about working in a music store for a long time, you tend to just, when somebody says, play me something, you tend to either ask them or size them up and go, oh, you look like a kind of person that likes this. So if I saw like a 40-year-old woman, I'd be like, wait. I just got demonetized. So something like that. If you look like you're angry, I'd play some metal for you. If you like country, I'd play a country lick. I used to say, and I still say this, I can fake anything for about 3 to 10 seconds, which is enough to convince somebody for a second that I know what I was doing. So I learned to fake almost every genre that long. It's a little trick I picked up in a music store, which is just learn to fake it, every genre you can, for 3 to 10 seconds. And then immediately stop playing guitar like I just did. Put it down. Any longer, they're going to discover the hole. So my knees hurt says the 40-year-old woman song. Well, here's the deal. I say that because I like Bryan Adams, and and I think a lot of people like Bryan Adams, but I mean a lot of girls I grew up in high school with like Bryan Adams, so that's what kind of assumed that. So let me put it this way: I could have changed that to, instead of a 40-year-old woman likes Bryan Adams song, I'd say when I was in high school, girls like Bryan Adams songs. I could play those. Let's see. Brian wants to know what pickups are in the bell tone. I believe these are, I have no idea. I think they're TV Jones P90s. That's what I think they are, but I would have to confirm. But I don't know. He gave me a really nice sheet, and I haven't read it all the way through yet. Okay. Patrick Gregory says, hey, Phil, love the channel. Is the inspiration for the Badlands guitar name based on the band Badlands? You know, I have no idea. I didn't name the brand. As you guys know, I think I've explained this. I was late in the partnership. I was pulled in as a key partner. And I say that not sarcastically. Really what happened was, I think I told you this. I was pulled in for some advice on a problem. I gave the advice and apparently solved the problem. Then they had more questions for me, and then it occurred to them to say, and I'm just telling you the story the way they told it to me. Besides, they gave me a very long PowerPoint presentation, which was very impressive, by the way. They were like, hey, if we have to pay him every time we ask him a question, why don't we just see if he's interested in being part of this? And it worked out for them, because one of my first piece of advice was, the more partners you have that have skill sets that you need, the more you can ask them to put more sweat equity into the business and less have to be paying out constantly for everything. By the way, Brian, one of the partners, he was being paid by us to do work. And then at some point, my logic took over of, hey, let's see if he'd be interested in just getting a piece of the company, and the piece isn't a profit sense. You gotta understand, you're essentially not coming out ahead. There's no situation. Well, let's say no situation. Most likely not a situation where the equity swap for your income is going to be worth it. It's more of just having a say and not being told. It's nice to be part of something where your opinion actually not only is cared for, but also legally. It's like you have a percentage, so your opinion actually has to have some weight. But that being said, I have no idea. I think they just started picking random names. Like I'd heard they throw like Wicked something up, and that's just what they did. And keep in mind also, the names were picked, and then they had to do trademark searches of what they could get. And that was a big part of it. That was one of the few reasons that when they were pulling me in was trademark information. They wanted to know how to trademark stuff and how to go about that, and setting up the LLC and the accounts and all that stuff. That's something else I was very versed in. So, yeah. So the answer was, they picked the name, and the trademark lawyer did the research and said, yep, we can get it. Let's go ahead and go for that. And I think that was about as easy as that was for logic. Okay. I have no Squinsy Friss. What? I have no idea, dude. I don't even know where to start reading that word. SKWISINFERIS. Squinsferis. Says, I'm a 28-year-old aspiring guitar tech, and I watch your channel mostly for the repair videos. Would you ever consider making a guitar repair class and uploading it to sites like Udemy? You know, this was not only something that we've been talking about, it was something that was approached to me to do a paid, what they call a paywall video series, right? Where you essentially make content, and I want to be very clear, because I do not want to, I'm going to say the answer, but please hear the entirety of this answer, because it's very important, because otherwise you might get something really wrong really fast. So the question was, would I be willing to do a paywall video series? In other words, like all the guys who sell guitar lessons and stuff, do a instructional how to repair, how to fix things series. And the answer is yes. And the answer is we are. And so, yes, I like the idea of doing a series. Yes, we are. And we are not going to put it on Udemy or anything like that. It'll be originally, it will be uploaded onto Patreon. This is where you have to listen because it's not on Patreon now. And so I don't want you to run to Patreon to hopefully get this service that's not there. But that's where it will go. We actually, what we're doing is we're building a studio. Believe it or not, you need a studio, not a repair shop, because you need to be able to film, all that stuff. And I think we're going to do 3 to 4 videos is what we discussed and knock them out. And then like, kind of like Tim Pierce, like upload them up, but we're going to put them on the Patreon. And the members will get them too here on YouTube. Basically, it's like behind a paywall in that idea. But it's more of a, hey, let's add that service to already platforms that are already supporting the channel instead of creating another damn thing for you to purchase. And then slowly move them over to free YouTube platform. And then as we upload others there. And then maybe if there's something that I go, I always kind of want to keep that secret. So let's keep that behind the paywall. Maybe we'll do that. I have no thought other than, yes, we're going to do that. So the answer is yes, I want to do that. And that's the way I think it's going to be. I think we're going to roll it out. I think that seems, to me, it seems the fairest way to do it. I can do the content and, give the people who are supporting the channel something and then move it over slowly over time. So, all right. So there you go. That's my thing. That's my idea. Or at least, actually, it's not my idea. That was what was presented to me and I agreed to. Yeah. Somebody's like, you should sell socks with one hole in it. I agree. I should sell socks. I should make a patch kit for socks. By the way, of anything I've ever said on this show, that one had the funniest answers I've ever heard. Not only did a lot of people agree with me, which my wife just was shaking her head so many times. I knew she was looking because she'd be on her phone and she would be like, she'd do that. That disappointed in you look? And I'm like, oh, did somebody make a comment about the last day socks thing? And she's like, yeah. But some of you guys even had funnier answers than we were in the grocery store the other day and I grabbed one. I'm like, this guy says you should kick your underwear off like a ninja. All right. Okay. All right. Let's get back to questions. We're getting too sidetracked here. Hold on. I'm just looking real quick to make sure I didn't miss one. Okay. This is from Scooby Stapp. Scooby Stapp says, happy Friday, Phil. I believe this is the first question of the day. No, it was the second. Scooby Stapp says, is the tone or quality of a guitar reduced when a guitar body is either made from one piece of wood or multiple pieces, like 2 to 3 or 4 pieces glued together? Thanks. I love saying that this is the important part, that I believe there's no true answers. No answer is going to be 100% correct. That's just how I believe this to be, because something will always kind of disprove an idea when it comes to the guitar building and the guitars and the magic that happens within guitars. Heck, think about this. We could argue whether or not there's magic in guitars. I have friends right now. I can hear them in my head screaming, there's no magic. It's all science. And I'm like, and engineering. And I'm like, okay. But what about the tree spirit that sometimes goes in the guitar? Anyways, my point is, I don't believe in an electric solid body guitar, glue has all that to do with a lot. Okay. I'm sure there's people, I did a video talking about a replica of a 59 Les Paul and I talked about the glues, and a lot of people are funny. I think they don't understand that. They're like, you really believe glue? And I'm like, I don't, it's not what I believe. It's what they did. I was explaining the history of this guitar. So to me, if a body is made of 3 or 4 pieces or 1 piece or 2 pieces, do I notice the glue? Here's the problem. I don't notice, and I don't notice it for a ton of reasons. I think a lot of things in the electric guitar world, they are real things in the acoustic guitar world, and then by logic, which meaning maybe an absence of a logic, and in my case and everybody else's case too, we try to adhere those theories to electric guitar. Obviously, that's where a lot of tone wood debate comes from, right? I mean, tone woods are a real thing in acoustic guitars. There's no question about that, and that's not a doubt that they affect everything. On electric guitars, not as much, or maybe not at all, depending on how you believe on that. But to me, the how much glue is in the guitar, and I mean, you know, here's the problem. This is why I say this. Let's say I just said I agree. Somebody says, "Hey, if there's a three-piece body, all that glue in between the vibration doesn't transfer the same way, and the guitar doesn't sustain the same way." And I could go, "Okay, but that necessarily doesn't mean it's bad in quality or any other way. It could just sound different, and sounding different sometimes is good." And the reason I say that is because I have guitars that I love, and they're not necessarily built really well, and I have guitars that I don't love as much, and they're built very well, in fact, perfectly. So again, I think there's a little bit more to the ingredients. There's always something to do with the recipe and the execution on that. So, so to answer your question, I personally don't think it matters. Like, and one of the reasons I personally don't think it matters is I'm afraid to give an answer in something I really can't even substantiate. For instance, well, if I was to say, "Oh, I don't think a guitar that had two-piece body sounds as good as one-piece, and a three-piece sounds as good as two-piece," when most of my guitars, I'm not even sure how many pieces are underneath there. I know what factories tell me, but I've found a lot of guitars don't have what factories have. I think imported Asian guitars seem to be more problematic in this, okay? And again, we're not excusing any of the American-made USA builders by any means. I've seen shenanigans in that part too. However, I have seen a lot of guitars where they're not the things they say they are. And so you have to watch yourself, because you might be going, "Man, I like basswood, three-piece basswood body's a tone suck, and this thing resonates like hell." And you're like, "Oh, it's a three-piece basswood body." You just didn't know because it was underneath the paint. So that's my answer to that. And also, I'll end with the things I want to worry about about the construction of the guitar. That's one of the things that just isn't going to make my top 10 list of things I care about. What I do, and I have said this before, is the reason I mention it in videos is it is a cost issue. It costs more. Bigger pieces of wood cost more. That's just a fact, especially as you increase the production of guitars. So I point out where guitars are glued together in videos, but more so for two reasons. One, if a guitar is expensive, hopefully you don't want to see a lot of that, because what made the guitar expensive then? And also, if a guitar is inexpensive, you know, you don't mind if you see more pieces. It seems normal. But most of the series, when I do these deep dive things, I'm pointing all that out, and when I use my dry erase marker and I'm tracing out where the wood glues come together, it's more just informational. I just want you to see it. You know, like, hey, this is so you know, this is what a $500 guitar, this is how it gets constructed. Here's a $2,000 guitar, here's how it gets constructed. So one of the things I think we all can agree on is nothing, because it's the internet. One of the things the majority of us will agree on is that when you work hard for your money, you want to feel like when you gave that money to somebody and they gave you something back, that thing they gave back had value, right? And it was worth what you paid or more, hopefully. And that's why I kind of go through things the way I do, is because I realize when I'm making a video, I'm really potentially helping you either A, make a purchase, or B, give you information on a purchase you just made that you might be concerned about or happy about. And I want to give you information more than opinions. I don't want to be like, "Yeah, Bob, you did a great job. Purple. Of course, it's a great guitar. It's purple. How can it not be great if it's purple?" I want to be able to say, "Hey, look, here's what I see." And if you want, you can compare it to other guitars I've reviewed in the same price points and see how they compared. And then I'll tell you how much the company really worked hard to get your money. So, yeah, Jim says you work hard for your money, so they better treat you right. Yep, that's exactly it. So, yes. And tone glue. Okay. Let me answer this one. This is Antique Rocker says, hey, wanted to try a headless and I needed a travel rig. I got an eArt headless GW2 due to your deep dive. Weirdly, it's my longest 24 fret, 25.5 inch scale guitar and shortest 33 inches. Okay. Guitar. Love it. Thank you. Yeah. You know, here's the thing. I had a meeting this week with some of the guys at Kiesel. Brandon at Kiesel is a great guy. I enjoy every time I get to talk to him. And I was telling him about ER guitars and how good they are for the price. They are definitely the thing to chase when it comes to, affordable guitars that are good. And what's funny is I see sometimes people are like, oh, they find the bad one and they kind of highlight the bad one. I'm like, look, I told you guys, the one thing that if you could learn one thing from this channel, maybe over any other channel, and again, I would never presume to be better than any channel in any way. But what I will tell you is one thing that I've learned from a lot of experience is that when you look at inexpensive guitars, consistency is the coffin nail. It's what they have. That's their biggest obstacle, right? And so when you buy inexpensive guitars, I tell you, if you're a reasonable-minded person, which I hope the majority of you watching are, if you buy a $300 guitar off Amazon that promises the world to you, which is hemispherical frets and stainless steel and beautiful tops, and you get a bad one, well, please understand that's the risk you took with the fact that they're hitting all the features at a low price. You're going to probably get a dud every once in a while. And that's why they have a return policy on Amazon where you can just return it and get a different one. And then, I'm sorry, that's part of the problem. It's why I don't enjoy when I spend a lot of money on a guitar and I have that problem. I believe, as I've learned from the factories, that when you're buying expensive guitars, consistency should be easier for them to obtain. It should be easier to get consistency because A, they have put in a price point to give you that. You do not expect to see a $3,000 guitar have consistency issues when the employees should be paid better. The materials should be more quality. The QA can spend longer on the guitars. There's a ton of reasons why that should take place. And so like I said, so that's my way of saying, I'm glad you got a great one. And like I said, for everybody else who's got a great one, I'm happy for you. And if you did get a bad one, there's a reason why I tend to lean towards brands like eArt that are, to me, they're good for the money and they're sold on a platform I trust. When I say I trust, please don't understand, I'm not saying I trust Amazon as a company. I trust their return policy. In other words, I trust that they will take care of you. So there you go. That's why I've backed away, and I've told you guys this, from companies like Donner, who originally, when I worked with Donner, and I have no reason to dislike Donner, okay? This isn't anything about them. But when I originally worked with Donner, they were being sold on Amazon. And one of the things I like about telling you guys to potentially throw your hard-earned money at a guitar for $200-300 and give it a try is it's nice to know that if you do have a problem, instead of giving me an email at 3 a.m, which so many times I get one every night, saying, hey, I got this guitar and you said yours is pretty good and mine is not pretty good. And now I don't know how I'm going to live the rest of the week. I mean, they're pretty dramatic sometimes, guys. But hey, I've been there. You get emotional, okay? But my point is, it's a lot easier when it's like, well, did you get it on Amazon? Well, did you push the button to take it back to the UPS store or the Kohl's or whatever and then just get another one? No one cares. Just give you another one and take care of you. So like I said, so I tend to back away from the companies that, and I get why, because the fees are heavy on Amazon, but I like, remember, I work for you guys, so I like the idea that you're protected. I would love to champion the companies and their fees and help them kind of not have so many fees. But unfortunately, I don't really see it. I work for them. I work for you. And what I've learned, like in any smart business, I work for you. And as long as you guys are happy, the companies will deal with whatever I'm doing because they have access to you. It's all about you. They only care about you. They don't care about my thoughts, my opinions, my cool hairdo, my fancy cool shirts. They care about none of this stuff. Trust me, I get sometimes lip service. It's very nice. But most of the time, I know. They care about how many views and how many of you will buy their product. And that's why they send them. And because I know that, I've learned to always lean and work with and take care of you guys, because as long as you're happy, they'll still deal with me. That's my theory. I think it's working so far. If it's not working, I don't care. I still like the way that works. I like that idea. Rick says, hey, Phil, I'm installing a pair of Fralin hum canceling P90s in a Strat body. What pot values would I use? I would use 250K. You could use the 500Ks as well. So you guys, you know, and you can even do variations. You can do a 500K volume and a 250K tone, or dual 250K tones if that's what you're doing. Sure, you could do that stuff. I just go 250K. That's just how I look at it. There might be a situation where I put a 500K in a P90, but as soon as you say Strat body, I know they're hum canceling, so they're going to probably sound a little warmer, right? Fuller than a normal P90, less mid-heavy, more on the low end frequency, just a little bit. And by hum canceling, there are technically humbuckers, but the way the pickup is made, I'd still probably go 250 because I don't think, I think that's going to sound great. It's basically, it's what I would do. So there you go. But like I said, you can go 500K. Just think of it this way. The answer is not so much what I would do. The answer is what will happen, what you do. 500K will give you slight, teensy weensy more highs than 250K. So here's what's great about that. You can try 500K, and if it's too bright, switch to 250K, or try 250K and it's not bright enough for you, try 500K. But keep in mind, this is a very minor amount of frequency change, because there's just it's not huge. So, and am I saying that right? Yeah, the 500Ks will give you more highs. That's what I'm trying to say, right? I hope I said that right. If I didn't, and I just flipped it, because sometimes I'm talking and thinking at the same time because it's live. 500Ks give you more highs. So just remember that. Okay. Okay, Randy Crooks. Oh, like the guitars, Crooks guitars. Always wanted a Crook Telly style guitar. He says, hey, on a fabric top Telly. Interesting enough, that's what Crook does. So you should get, Randy, your name's Crooks, and you should get a Crook Telly with a fabric top. He says, hey, on a fabric top Telly, I will be putting Tex-Mex pickups, CTS pots, and a 4-way switch. I always like the 4-way switch on the Telly. It's a cool option. And new tuners, any thoughts or suggestions? Nope, I think you did it. I'd love to give you a suggestion of something I would change out, but CTS pots are great. I like Tex-Mex pickups. I like the 4-way switch. I don't see any downsides in your theory. So, trying to shield it. That's it. Mark says, hey, Phil, I just got a gorgeous quilted private stock McCarty for $3,700. Wow. Whew. Big money. And did you go to the casino? Did you win? So, that's what I think of when I think, all right, I won some money. He says, the pickups are dodgy. Any suggestions to consider for the pickups? Well, it's a McCarty Paul Reed Smith. I would definitely go something PAF. Obviously, if it's a private stock McCarty, I would get some real PRS pickups in there. I think they'll sound great. You could get some 5708s. That'd be nice. Or 5909s in there. That would be good. Those are be my choices. But if you don't want to spend that cash, even though you just spent $3,700, you could go with Dimazio or Seymour Duncan, or obviously I really like the mules from Bare Knuckle. Again, put you in that territory. Very, very good pickups. Riff Raff are also good from Bare Knuckles. I love those as well. So mules or Riff Raffs, or Dimazio go 36th anniversary, or with Seymour Duncan go 59s. I think those will all get you in that territory. And of course, there's tons of others, great pickups from Lindy Farrell and everybody else, but those are my suggestions. Just because the McCarty is kind of going for that sound, those pickups would definitely line up with that sound. Mike says, hey, new guitar week. Week? You got a guitar a whole week? It says, after waiting 6 months, I got my new Epiphone USA Casino. It was worth the wait. Glad I did not settle for the import and do the upgrades. John, Paul, and George were right. Yeah, it's a cool idea. I like that they brought that back, that option back, especially the diehard Beatles fans know, like, you know, Epiphone was such a big brand, you know, for the band in that era and being made in USA. So very cool. I'm glad you like it. Thanks for sharing. 94 Dodge Dude says, hey, Phil, best advice for a new guitar builder. Thanks. Don't do it. Yeah, I'm not going to say anything without saying the story. I'm going to say this story 1,000 times. This will be 1,001. I have a friend. This is 2005. He's still my friend. 2005, a friend is like, hey, he's not making any money selling guitars. He's really working his ass off. At that time, I was building basses too. We had the store and I was building basses. And he said, man, I can't make any money. And I said, yeah. I said, you should build kitchen cabinets. And so he stopped making guitars and started making cabinets. And next time I saw him, I'll never forget this. He was killing it. And he told me, and I, again, doing off memory, something about the fact that he's like, you know, a soccer mom will throw down 40 grand on particle board and veneer cabinets, but I couldn't get anyone to give me 4 grand for a perfectly built, beautiful work of art instrument. And I said, that's why I said do that. So that's my advice. Don't. Okay. Then after that, now we can talk about, you know, hey, now that I did that as like a, you know, public message. Any advice as a guitar builder? Yeah. Be really, really good to your customers. They're everything. Nothing else is going to matter. You make a great product and you treat your customers right and you work a lot. You know, you do it. I mean, it's tough. It's a tough gig, man. This is a passion gig. You know, that's just the reality of it. The reason we did the Badlands thing, it's a passion thing. There's no way, like I said, we see a future of like, wow, what? Like I said, we've been around and done this enough times that we know how to do it and mitigate the risk and be profitable. But by profitable, I mean not have to shell out of pocket all the time. And that's a different kind of thing. But what I will say this is, let me talk to you from the heart for a second. So we did all the practical stuff. That's all my brain talking. Let me give you my heart. If you feel it in you that you have to build something and you have something to say to the world and you can build something that you think is unique and great, I totally think you should do that. I think you will be miserable until you do that, in fact. So I will tell you to do that. What I will only tell you is that like I have a partnership. You know, I've been on this channel for almost 300 episodes, and you know, people ask me, would you ever start a guitar company? And I said, no. And I didn't. Like I said, people even, I think one person asked me, like, didn't you say you wouldn't do this? And I go, I never said I wouldn't do this. This never was presented to me. It never occurred to me somebody would do all the heavy lifting and then ask me to come in at the end and be like, hey, and then I get like all the credit too. I get way more credit for the Badlands deal than I deserve. Like I said, I was just at the end and I was there with just enough experience to kind of like dot those I's and cross those crosses and literally go, okay, it's perfect now. And yay, I did it. But what I'm saying is that basically, if you do feel you have skills that are missing, you should find help. So if you're great at building guitars, build those guitars. If you're horrible with people, get somebody who's good with people. Because let me tell you, your business is not going to go far if you cannot deal with people. One of the things that I hate to see is guitar builders, they see other builders that are crotchety or people that are in this industry that are not really good with people, and people tolerate it. And they're like, oh, so you don't have to be good with people. That is not the rule. That is the exception. Most people in this industry, if you're not good with people, you will not do well. Okay. The other thing I would totally recommend for you to do 94 Dodge dude, is read some of the books about Fender and Leo Fender. Very interesting reads, and especially the history of how, you know, Leo was not really the sales of the company. He was kind of like the ideas, you know, and the execution and inventions. And you know, you can come to your own decision about what you read. But in my reading all I could about Leo Fender, and of course interviewing all the people that knew him and all the people that worked with him, whether it be G&L and all the other people, what you really learn is that the person who sold the guitars was very valuable to Fender, and Leo just that's what he wasn't good at. So he found that skill set. So that's my suggestions to you. But you got to start with a good product. So first make a great instrument and go from there. Okay. Mr. S says modular Badlands guitar, pretty please. Not going to happen. Here's the thing about this, and I'm sure I'll always get questions about the Badlands guitars on every episode when it comes to like what's next and what will you do a bass, will you do this? I will tell you this. Before you ask any more questions ever again about what that Badlands will do, just understand that the next 5 launches, which are only 2 per year, have already been planned. So whatever you guys suggest, you're talking about 2025. So if you want to suggest it, I'm okay with it, but you understand. I just want you to understand, like, there's nothing gonna, you know, change what's already like in the plan. It was planned out before the first guitar was ever launched to the public. We already knew what the next launches look like. We had already mapped this whole thing out in a very long plan. Corey says switching to P90 guitar to, switching a 2 P90 guitar, so it's dose, to a single P90, looking for a creative idea to use a toggle switch. Okay, what to do with it, you mean? Thinking V1 T-cap. You know what? You can do that. Any one of those things will be cool. I've done those kind of things where, you know, like, you know, you removed a pickup, so now you got to hold a fill and you put a switch in it, and you'll find, I never find it ever works. It's one of those things like you'll just never use it. So it's up to you if you want to get it out of your system. I got it out of my system once. And so all the possibilities, I would say pick one and just go with it. But what I will tell you is my experience with doing those was you won't use it after a week. Ace says, hey, Phil, new guitar day. My first baby was born this morning. Wow. That's a bigger deal than the guitar, I think. Can't wait to shower her with all the good metal. Well, congratulations, right? New guitar and new baby day. That's pretty cool. Pedally, hey, Pedally, what's up? Says, for the pedal jar, keep doing what you are doing. You keep doing what you are doing. Pedally is a store in Arizona that sells pedals and all kinds of other goods too, but lots of pedals. You can get lots of good pedals. I bought my LPD 87 from them. Spencer says, what are your thoughts on the Theos? I am looking to get another Kiesel, and I was thinking about the Theos. Also, did you get an email? Did I get an email? I sent someone information on the toggle switch issue I super chat about. You know what, Spencer? Yes, the answer is probably yes, that we did get an email, but have I seen it? Probably not. So emails are, for me, like I said, they come in waves. Like I get a lot, and then I don't get that many. So when I don't get that many, you guys are like, wow, you responded fast. When I get a lot, you're like, you never responded. It's because stuff gets buried. But also the things that go on that week. This week was hectic. So again, it was hectic this week. That's the best way to put it. Not like a busy week. It's different. Busy is you got a lot of stuff to do, so you just find stuff to do. This week was more like crap just kept happening. That had nothing, a lot of personal stuff. You know, we have some sick relatives and other things going on, and so we're dealing with that, right? So that answer your question. I'll take a note to look at it this weekend. So your thoughts on my Theos? He's talking about this guitar right here. This is my Theos. This is a Kiesel Theos. He says, what are my thoughts? My thoughts will literally get me destroyed on the gear page tonight. They will curse my name. I'm losing my voice. Hold on. Yep. I apologize. I'm losing my voice. Hold on. And we're back. I'm like crying. I had a moment. I had to tear up a little bit. I had to cry it out. No, interesting, funny thing about where I live in Arizona is in the summertime when I do the show, the room is freezing. It's ice cold because we have AC on. In my office, you guys, I'm sure, all have homes, and like most homes, wow, if I don't lose my voice, it's gonna be bad. Most homes, you have a room that's hot, a room that's cold. My office is the freezing room. However, in the wintertime, which I'm not even sure that that's what this is, the wintertime feels like it for here in Arizona, even though it's like 50 outside, which is for us is cold. The sun hits the window in this room all day, and this room is hot. So this room is really hot right now. So what I'm saying is I was drinking water, but apparently not working as I'm really, really hot right now. I have lights on me, and this room is really hot. I would say it's probably, I'm not exaggerating. It's probably 88 to 90 degrees in here. So I lost my voice is what I'm trying to say. But Kiesel, back to Kiesel and the gear page destroying me, Theos. I like it as much as a Suhr Modern. I have a Suhr Modern and I have a Kiesel Theos, and I can tell you they are the same guitar. For me, if somebody disagrees, God bless you. Disagree all you want. I cannot, with 20 years experience ripping guitars apart, fixing guitars, you name it, figure out what is different about these two guitars other than the physical shapes of the neck. I can see why you'd prefer one shape to another. Somebody will say maybe, the fit and finish on the Suhr is better. I don't see that. I just don't see it. Again, you could prefer the Suhr all day long. Why am I saying that? Well, because I wanted the Theos because of that. I like the Ibanez AZ, as you guys know. That's a great guitar. I don't own it anymore. I had a bunch. I loved them. But I like the Theos more. And I got to pick everything on the Theos. I will tell you, I like guitar brands like everybody else. I like Paul Reed Smith, so I like them. Okay. And I like Tom Anderson. I like Suhr. I like these high-end brands, just like I like affordable brands. I like guitars. It's a guitar channel. I like guitars. I don't really have I like Gibsons and I hate Paul Reed Smith or something like that. I kind of like everything. Okay. And there's a reason why I like everything. Some stuff is cool because, sometimes I like it because it's cool looking, it's affordable. Sometimes I like it because it's unique. However, what was I going to say? Basically, Kiesel, and I say this, I still think they are the most unique builder in the United States. They literally build a custom instrument at a price point that makes no sense. No one else is doing it. I mean, no one else factory-wise is doing it. If you're gonna hey, have you seen Tom Guitars in Minnesota? He'll build you a guitar. I'm sure he will, and I recommend it if you got good vibes from your local builder guy. Go, but as a manufacturer, no one is building a guitar this level of quality for this price point. It's unheard of, and so that's kind of what I like about it. The Theos I have right here that I'm pointing at, this guitar shipped to you is less, like a lot less, like not quite $1,000, but close to it, almost $1,000 less than a Suhr is to the dealer. So direct consumer is great. Obviously, I obviously embrace that. That's why Badlands went direct to consumer, because we could effectively do that. We could effectively sell you guys a guitar for less. We know so because, like I said, it's built in a shop that builds other high-end guitars, and they're mostly more because they're sold with yet another line of delivery in there. So, so that's my answer on my Theos. I find that every time I say that, people lose their mind. There's just something about, you can't say a Kiesel is as good as a Suhr. It will just drive people crazy. I say it. I'm not saying it's better. I'm telling you. And I love the Suhr, and I will tell you this, so you know, the main reason I like a lot of the guitars I have that I took the shot on like that, like the Suhr, I don't regret it, but I also would not want to sell it and lose money because it's not worth what I paid. And by the way, this Kiesel is not going to be exactly the same thing as which you paid too, but it's not the investment. So I can recommend it. I feel pretty good recommending that guitar. Benjamin says, a round of cauliflower and sprouts. Thirsty Lion. Oh, what's up, Benjamin? It's funny. Grumpy Mike Guitar, what's up? He says, congrats on selling out the first Badlands and offering the future. On the Badlands offering the future is bright. Cheers. Yeah, like I said, the thing was crazy. What's great about this is, like I said, I want this Badlands to experience to be something that we can add to what we do here at the Know Your Gear channel to make, you know, your education better, right? And like, for instance, yesterday, I believe, it could have been today, because I get a different feed than you guys because I see the background. Today, I believe Brian posted the picture of the wood, all the wood for the body blanks for the guitars because they started cutting, right? So we're sharing that experience with you. We're sharing everybody on the Badlands Instagram. But to Grumpy Mike Guitar's point about the sellout and, you know, the future looks really bright. We have a very realistic look at what's going on in the future, and again, I want to be upfront with that. The next run could sell out in an hour, and the next run we could sell 3. I mean, you have to understand, this is what we've decided to do is very crazy, because as we create a model and we sell out, it may not seem like a lot to a lot of people. Like, oh, okay, this model sold out. Maybe it was hype. Maybe it was the look. Maybe it was whatever. Maybe it was the video. Maybe it was this. Maybe people just thought they could make some money on it. I don't know. I bet you all those reasons apply. Okay. And so, you know, all those reasons were considered in how we executed on this. However, the next model, like another song on the album, the next song could be the song that we sell 100, you know, and, you know, like, what if we sell 50 in 5 seconds? We're like, well, we better do 100. I can tell you this, we've already discussed in deep talks. We can't break 100. We can't even build 100. So let's talk about that. But we're talking about in the future, if we can build 100, maybe we'll go to 100 on a model that's doing really well. But also, like I said, if the next model, that song, you're like, oh, you like this song? Wait till you hear the next song. The next song might be the song that no one listens to. And so we have very reasonable expectations of this. And kind of like my advice to 64. I got to remember your number. Dodge Dude, what are you at? 60 what? What was your number? 94. Sorry. 94 Dodge Dude. Kind of like my advice. We're doing the thing we're passionate about. At the end of the day, we all have one and we like it. So we're like, okay, we got that covered. And then we'll share it with you guys and see if we like it. And the reason, again, I want to share that kind of stuff is I think that's an interesting way of looking at things. We had never, as someone who's worked with all these companies, a lot of companies, and a lot of us on this team have worked with companies, we almost like purposefully wrote down all the things that companies do. And we said, we don't want to do that stuff. Right. And one of them was, you know, we don't want to worry. And this is where I was going with this. We don't want to look at something we love and go, no one will buy that. Let's not release it. We'll go, no, we'll release it. And if no one buys it, well, then no one bought it and we'll go to the next one. And if everybody loves that one, we'll try to make as many as we can. And if the next one, they love it, great. And if the next one, they don't love it, then that's fine. But we're going to give every launch a fair shake to see what it is that we came up with that you guys might dig. So thank you, Grumpy Mike Guitar. But like I said, I know everybody's like, oh, the first one sold out. The next one could be a blowout. Who knows? It could be, like I said, it could be the opposite. We have a very realistic look at this, is what I'm trying to say. And we're happy. Jennifer says, how to diagnose reasons for fret buzz, action, fret level, etc. I don't have tools, but I would like to see if it's worth taking on how involved with. Jennifer, I have this way. This is how I explain fret buzz and how you kind of try to solve the problem. Okay. The fastest way to solve the problem is raise the action. Okay. What I mean by that is when you have fret buzz. So in other words, you're playing and the notes are buzzing on the fretboard and stuff. Maybe what you want to do, or not maybe, what you want to do is raise the action. You can do it on the bridge. That's fine. You can relieve the truss rod too, but I would definitely just do the bridge. Either way, you want to get the action up on the bridge. And then raise it a little bit, play. Little bit, just each time, just a little bit, a little quarter turn here and there. And then once the buzz goes away, you're like, well, yeah, now it's gone, but I have high action. Now your goal is to figure out how to lower it back and not have the buzz come back. And sometimes that might, you have to adjust the neck, and sometimes that might mean a bad fret that might be leveled. But at least you'll know where the problem is. And like I said, one of the things I love to do, which is where I kind of focus this channel on, is more in diagnosing and fixing small issues, but more importantly, understanding how to diagnose stuff so that when you go to a guitar tech, that you understand, one, what they're saying, and two, that they're not, just coming up with crap out of their head. You could go, well, no, I got the buzz to go away. I'll give you an example. A lot of people will bring a guitar to me and they'll say, hey, this guitar buzzes. I want you to make it not buzz. And I go, oh, okay. And I'll set it up and I try to figure out how to get the action to where it doesn't buzz. But here's an idea too. You could bring a guitar. Let's say you raise the action to where it sounds the way you want. And you brought it to me and said, hey, I love the way this guitar sounds. I've raised the action, but what I need is the lower action to sound like this. And that lets me know what kind of player you're like. Okay, you need lower action, but no buzzing. I gotcha. So that's what I would work on, is experimenting with that. Sam says, I'm thinking of making a website where you can compare neck. I saw this. You sent an email about this. Your email was very engaging. However, I didn't have a quick answer. So it got put in a folder. That's what happens to the questions that are just a little too long to answer. They get in a folder, and then when I get my free time in the afternoon or something, I'll pull those questions out. So Sam, your question. So Sam, what Sam was working on or is working on is a website where you can compare necks to each other in a 3D model kind of environment. Is it a good idea? The problem I had with your idea was I didn't know, other than putting advertising on the website, I didn't know how to monetize this. I think you said briefly in the description that, money's not really a concern. I think I got that. Maybe I gleaned that from something, but it's a good idea. The problem is, it's not just the idea, it's how well it's executed, and then you got to get people to go there. The things you have to think about, Sam, that sucks is somebody will say to me exactly what you'll say. They'll say, I want to do this thing and I really don't care if I make any money. Well, one thing you have to think about is you got to get people to go to it. You build it. It's like making a video. It's no different. You made this thing and now you want people to use it. Even if you want people to use something for free, believe it or not, it costs money to get them to go there. How will they know this exists, right? And so that's one of the things you have to think about is it has to be monetized to some degree, because how do you get people to know it exists? Your website exists, and you're going to need to advertise that. And that means you're going to pay out of pocket, because if you build it, the saying, if you build it, they will come. I don't think that works. I think if you build it, there's a small chance, but I would bet you right now there's a ton of people watching right now that also have small businesses and also have smaller channels and stuff. And they're nodding right now going, yeah, I'm trying to get more people to what I'm doing too. So, and that's the other thing too, is it's not even just letting people know that you're doing it. It's all the competition. And in your case, there doesn't seem like a whole lot of competition. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I like your idea. I just don't know if I have any advice on how you could execute it any better, but, or how you can execute it better than what you're saying. I think the idea is great. It's one of those things, like, I guess it would be something I would refer to people to. Maybe that's how you get people there. But the importance, I think what you're looking for is just whether or not I thought the idea was valid. I think any information on the internet that helps people make decisions or understand what they're doing with guitar is going to have some value. Ben says thoughts on flipping PRS 2408 SE neck pickups. Okay, so the SE slugs are on the inside, core and pulls are both face the neck, thus the single is spaced differently, is one telly-ish, the other stratish. I've never noticed where the slugs were on the guitars and why that was. I mean, so you know, the original reason why screws were towards the bridge and the neck was Seth Lover said he just did it because he thought it looked better that way. So it wasn't made a choice. On coil splitting, obviously, you know, sometimes they're coil splitting a certain pickup and they want it in a certain, they want the inner coils or the outer coils based on that. And with PRS, depending on the guitar, but a lot of times with PRS, you gotta understand the SE guys, believe it or not, what's really cool, something that they did, which is I think is becoming, I don't want to say they originated the idea because I can't really claim that, but what I can say is that I noticed that they were doing it and I see it more and more now. This idea that when they're making something like the SE, you're seeing PRS take this idea of, okay, let's not worry about making exactly like the core. Let's make it to where it sounds and plays really good. And if that means we have to change a couple specs in it, it's not just about changing it so it's not the same as the USA model. It's about changing it so it has a better shot of making the customer happy. So they may have made choices like what you're talking about for on purpose. But thoughts about swapping them? I mean, you can. I mean, I haven't put much thought into it. It doesn't really hurt it to do it. El Scorcho says, hey, will my 09, just says 09, so I'm going to say 2009. Will my 09 Les Paul Silverburst ever turn green? Yes. My guess is this. Trogley says yes, because it's the lacquer aging. I called Gibson. They said no, because the paint was changed by 09. Changed, look, changed to what? If it's lacquer, it yellows. So the question is it, you're saying it's a Gibson, right? You're saying 09 Les Paul Silverburst. If yours is an Epiphone, it's not going to change. It's polyurethane, it's not going to change. It'll be silver forever and ever and ever and ever. If it is a Gibson and it is nitrocellulose lacquer, it will green. How will it green? We don't know because, like I said, they do change formulas. There's things that they change. I'm not a paint guy. Remember, I only tell you general things, but I am a guitar guy, and as a guitar guy, I know what things look like when they age based on the finish. And so the answer to your question is super easy. If it is lacquer, it will green because it will yellow, which will turn green. And if it is poly, it'll stay the same. That's as simple as that is. And if you don't know, well, one, I just told you if it's an Epiphone. But if you're not sure, you can use a black light. You can buy a black light off Amazon and put it on the finish and see if it glows. If it glows, it's nitro lacquer. If you don't want to buy a black light, the other technique I use that's really easy is I usually use my thumb. You can use a finger too, but thumb. I pick a spot maybe on the side of the neck, maybe in the body, and I essentially, just like on this phone right here, I just kind of rub, right, with a little bit of force. What I'm trying to do is make heat, right? Just think of it that way. Like, you know how you rub something to warm it up? I try to warm, I try to go to a finish and I just rub really fast. I'm doing it right now because I'm trying to think how long, because now it's starting to get warm right now. So maybe 10 seconds, right? I don't know, something like that. I mean, obviously your thumb, when your thumb is warm, you've done enough. And then what you do is try to see if it feels sticky, like tacky, and if it is, it's most likely lacquer. If it's poly, it'll be warm, but it won't feel different. Lacquer feels a little bit more sticky or tacky if it is warm. So that's another way to test it, and it doesn't harm anything. That wouldn't harm anything. Don't do it for an hour, but you don't understand. Just that's a good test. Brosif I don't know, Behemoth? I think that's what a Brosif Behemoth says. Hey, Phil, I'm looking at a Music Man Cutlass. How do they compare to the PRS Silver Sky and Fender Custom Shop? They're totally different animals, in my opinion. All three of those guitars are great, but totally different animals. And since we're on a verbal show and I can't show you audibly what they sound like and talk about the pickups and the tones and all this stuff, let's just talk about the necks, because that's a huge part. To me, they are night and day different on the necks. The out of the three guitars, again, when you say Fender Custom Shop, most of the custom shops are going to be the 50s, 60s reissues, maybe a 70s reissue, stuff. You're not going to see a whole lot of modern custom shop stuff. So with the more modern neck profile, but some of them will use like a 60s neck profile, some a 50s neck profile. That being said, none of those, in my opinion, are as small and as thin as the Cutlass. The Cutlass is the fastest, smallest neck. Like if you like small necks, go Cutlass. Silver Sky, it'll be in there like the 50s era Fender custom shops, a little on the chunkier side, not chunky, but chunkier. Obviously that rounded fretboard radius, 7.25. And, so I would think of like the Cutlass as the modern guitar, very sleek, feels comfortable, kind of smaller neck. Silver Sky, kind of a modern take on a Fender, but still has some of the Fender-esque kind of chunkier neck feel, but feels good. And also keep in mind the Silver Sky, especially the modern ones, if you're not talking about the SE, they're going to have a nitro lacquer kind of finish on them, and this thin finish on the neck and on the body. So lacquer, just like the Fender's going to be lacquer, so that if you like lacquer, it's great. If you don't and you think it's sticky, back to the Cutlass will be a polyurethane of some sort. So that's how I would separate them, as those three. But focus on the necks, because that is where I think most players will either love or hate those guitars. Michael says, if the sound of an amp fluctuates, changes during playing, does the higher quality of more expensive amps sound? Sounds like to me you have a bad tube or you have a problem. The sound should not fluctuate, and change during playing. It's very common for tube amplifiers when you're playing for the volume to drop and then come back up, or sag a little bit, or even darken the tone get a little kind of muffle like this and then come back. A lot of times that's tubes. It could be components going bad or that are bad. But, the great thing about tube amps is that, say 8, I really kind of feel like it's 9, but 8 out of 10 times it's a tube issue. So you want to chase the tube, the problem. So I don't think it's you need a more expensive amp. I think your amp's having an issue with its tubes. Mark says, hey, I have a Squier Paranormal offset Telecaster. Think about replacing the pickups into blues, jazz, funk, rock, and everything. I'm into everything but metal. Thinking humbuckers, P90s, thoughts on pickups, electronics. Here's the thing. You obviously blues, jazz, funk, classic rock. You're looking for something that's versatile, pickup that's versatile. So I would stay away from the high gain pickups and the extremely low gain pickups. Stick to things that are in the middle and that produce, it's a Telecaster, but you said P90s. Thinking humbuckers or P90s. I like P90s in that guitar. I would do P90s, like even if they're humbucker sized. That'd be kind of cool. But I would think, like I said, mid output pickups. Stay away from the high output pickups and the extremely low output pickups, and that'll give you more versatile stuff. Steven, thank you for the super sticker. Anthony says, hey Phil, whatever happened to Tim, just Tim, and did we ever reveal? No, I remember Tim, just Tim. I don't know. You know what it is? Sometimes people are on the show and they like ask questions and stuff, I see them every week, and then I don't see them, and then I see them back again. And so yeah, I don't know. Tim, just Tim. That's a throwback. Volk Hammer says, hey Phil, I was too late for the GX1, so bummed. Last week you mentioned a Kiesel that has a similar 80s round. Which model Kiesel were you referring to? 80s round? You mean like the neck? I would say, here's the problem. So let me just give you this. If you were looking for the Badlands guitar at Kiesel, you would want to go with the Aries model, in my opinion, without the bevel cut, and obviously a Floyd. And then if you went with their standard neck, it would be close, but it would be thinner than the Badlands. If you go with their thick neck, it will be thicker. Right? I mean, that's kind of like I said, we kind of picked a neck profile that we're like, yeah, that's it. That's the neck, right? So, I mean, I really feel like we got it. A lot of my friends that pick it. Actually, the comment I get most about this guitar from friends when they pick up the Badlands neck is they go, oh, it's not as thin as I was thinking it was going to be. And I'm like, yeah. Every single one of them, no exception, I swear. They go, oh, it's not as thin as I thought it was going to be. And after a minute, they go, oh, it feels really good. Like I thought it was like, for a second, I thought it was chunky, but it's not chunky neck. It's thin. And I go, yeah, it's like I said, it's in the middle. But I think if you got the Aries non-bevel, model, and get their pointy headstock, I mean, you're pretty close to what we have, which is why we did it the way we did it. Because again, I'm working on ordering an Aries right now as we speak. I want orange pickups. Michael says, hey, pickup bobbins. Why do most humbuckers have a row of screws and a row of flat bobbins? You rarely, if ever, see screws on singles. Well, I mean, the screws were about adjusting the height. I mean, that's what that was really about. They wanted to be able to adjust the height of the pickup. There are dual rolls that are slugs. The Badlands pickup, I know it's so much Badlands talk, but it's just a good reference, so it's information. The Badlands pickup that's in those guitars, the ones we use, they're 2 rows of slugs. We don't have screw pieces on them. Obviously, because we want to put the plastic cover on them, we wanted to go flat. So why do most humbuckers have it? I mean, again, it's just so you can adjust the height. Same thing, single coils, why don't they have screws? Well, a lot of times they just set the slugs different depths, but there are pickups with screws. Usually they're Allen screws of some sort, but there are screws, single coils with screws. So it's just, again, it's one of those things where I don't think I would get too focused on that. I always you see the Invader by Seymour Duncan. It's got those big screws in there, right? I find in pickups, I mean, again, generally speaking, in pickups like blade style pickups definitely have a difference to my ear and the way I perceive when I play. Having a big, one big essentially slug sideways like the magnet, like a bar, versus individual slugs, that seems to have an effect, I notice. But do I notice slugs versus screws tone wise? I don't really notice. A lot of times I can't notice when the heights have been adjusted. It's really hard to notice that too. What's really cool is my wife, again, working on stuff. As you guys know, I have this huge pickup collection, and she wanted me to do something. So I'm doing this for Instagram right now. Maybe it'll do something I'll do on YouTube, but will be like a pickup of the day. She wants me to take a pickup off the wall, because a lot of them are on wall, but some are in drawers. Take a pickup and then maybe talk about it for 60 seconds about what's unique about it. So maybe this will be helpful when I do that, because like I said, my collection of pickups is insane. Our joke is literally no one can drive by my house and their compass work. Because in fact, we even make the joke, everybody could find my house. If you just drive through neighborhoods in Arizona and all of a sudden your compass starts spinning, that's my house with 6,000 magnets in it. Baked Alaska, thank you for the super chat. So Dylan Talks Tone says the Chapman British made solution is a good example of a need for caution when considering scaling. So what he's talking about is, I saw Chapman made the announcement that they're having an issue with the British made series. Some shop was building them and now they're not building them. So let's again talk about that. And very clear, the guitars that we have built in California, they have more capacity. So they even hired a new person. We actually were responsible for getting somebody a job. So we employed a U.S. American. I say that because every time I say American, somebody's like, you mean like North America? Yeah, United States. So here's what's interesting about this. What we did is a little different. We had the ability, like I said, we could have made 100. So I'm just explaining the caution of the Chapman thing. We could have made 100. We chose, like I said, to keep it under control. And we're never going to scale up because, again, we know that the business model is framed in a way that we could have a 50-piece run and then we could have a 3-piece run. We just know that those are the examples that are happening. What I maybe didn't explain, which is kind of an interesting thing, and this is, again, I'm clear. I kind of discussed with so many things that are clear to talk about. This thing probably I wasn't clear to talk about, but I'll tell you. One of the reasons why we have the models already figured out is we have it set up almost like a YouTube channel model. In other words, on YouTube, you post a video. You never know what's going to work, right? You post a video like 5 things you don't know about this guitar pick that I love, right? And and it does great. And you're like, woo, it's killing. And then the next video is called, if you thought that pick was crazy, wait till you see this pick. And like 8 people click on it and nobody watches it. And so when you have a video that does well, I like the term, let it breathe. So some of you guys have seen that on my channel. There's all kinds of strategies on YouTube. Some strategies are they don't put out a video every damn day. Every day there's a video. And God bless them. Some channels put out videos when they feel like it. Some channels put out videos for other reasons. I have videos already ready. And sometimes what happens is I'll put out a video and it's killing. And I look at my analytics and they're killing and everybody's happy and you guys are watching it and more viewers are going to watch it in the next day or so. And I let it ride. Like I said, I let it breathe. And then when I see the video start to decline and I don't see people watching that video as much, then we release another video. That's how it works. It's always been done that way. So that's kind of how we think of things. So we let it breathe. The business model for this guitar company works the same way. If we release the next model and we sell 3, just so you know, we were ready for this. With this model, the first Badlands, if we sold 3, I told you guys on that first show, we might sell 3. If we would have sold 3, well, I can tell you exactly what happened. Everybody would have got those guitars in about 2 to 3 weeks. Well, I mean, soon. And then the next model would come out. We'd have it ready to go. We were already ready, like I said. So that's why I'm saying difference in the business model that way. The reality is we're not doing imports. So this is how the business model works. We have no interest in the imports and us doing them. So that's why, like I said, it's slightly different. On the Chapman thing, I don't understand the Chapman thing. So I'm gonna be very clear. I was when I saw that announcement today, I just should be honest about this. When I saw the announcement today about Chapman's British made guitars, something of shops closing, I had no idea they were making those. I thought that was something they did a few years ago, and I thought that had already stopped. I was totally shocked by that. I obviously can't pay attention to everything. Like I said, it's a bandwidth issue. I had no idea they were still making some higher end Chapman guitars. So I didn't know. But like I said, there's also, unfortunately, there's things I can't talk about. And one of the things I can't talk about is why I know why we have, again, let's just say we have it set up so we can hit. I can't talk about it. It just doesn't matter. Like I said, it's just, I guess to say that concern isn't a concern we have. Brian says, did you Ola Solar Europe custom? Ola Solar has a custom shop. You know, Ola reached out and said, congratulations on the company. I thought that was very nice. I had a very shocking experience. I had a bunch of companies. Kiesel reached out and said, you know, congratulations. And Eastwood Guitars reached out and said congratulations. And it was really shocking. I was like, whoa, thanks. And very nice. And it was really cool. Richard wants to know, do you have prototypes of the next 4 Badlands models? We have so many guitars designed, ready to go. It's insane. So we have one benefit that is very nice. We are exactly like when you see these behind the scenes on the bands writing an album. We're one of those bands where like, we have 50 hit songs and we're just figuring out which ones come first. That's exactly. So when I say we have 4 or 5, that's when I say 4 or 5, I mean, those are the 4 or 5 we picked to be first. But we already had everything done. And then we just pick which ones we think are going to do in order. And almost like strategy, just like in song launches, we think this one will do good first. We think this one will do good second. I mean, there's a strategy to why we think the release of ones will do well. Let's see. Speed for Hire says Ola just copied Washburn, not original. Actually, so that's not entirely true. I could argue, of course, easily. Everyone copied everybody in this industry to some degree. Besides maybe Fender and even him. But Ola, that wasn't what happened. If you guys remember, Ola was with Washburn, and they were making his model. I was a Washburn dealer. I remember carrying those Washburns that look like Solars in the store. So I know I bought Washburns that looked exactly like Solars in the store from Washburn. He did not do, what he did was, Washburn had decided, again, I was a dealer, so this isn't like a hearsay, like I heard a rumor on Reddit. I was a dealer. Washburn told us one day, like, we're not making electrics. We're just going to make acoustics. The money's in acoustics, because Washburn got purchased, and they're going to push acoustics. They also had a gazillion SKUs of acoustics, and as a dealer, it sucks because we sold a lot of Washburns, and it was hard. You could never get the Washburns you wanted in stock. So they were like, "Look, we're going to go focus on acoustics. No different than Ford going, we're going to make trucks and SUVs and ditch cars." It was like Washburn's like, "We're going to make acoustics." Obviously, they had the Michael Sweet and the Nuno Betancourt series USA guitars. They shut down the USA shop. Okay, those guitars are built by a third. So if you buy a Nuno Betancourt Washburn guitar, it's built the same way essentially a Badlands is. It's ghost built by another company, right? So Washburn doesn't physically build those guitars. Okay, those are built by another person for them, just like how we do it. This whole industry is riddled with that. That's why we need to execute on it. We like to call it domestic outsourcing. It's like how everybody has the idea, like, hey, let's go to China and have guitars made. We're like, well, why don't we just have guitars made right here in the United States? We could do that. So we call it domestic outsourcing. So with Ola, what happened was they decided not to do the electric guitars anymore. They were going to do acoustics. They may have kept a few here or there models that were the hot sellers or entry-level guitars, usually probably based on some kind of strategy that worked best for their dealer network. Ola basically said, hey, I want to keep making these guitars. So essentially, they worked out some kind of deal, and that's why he did it. So he kind of overtook the brand and rebranded it. I could probably, maybe, hopefully one day I can interview Ola. I would love to get him on the channel. Maybe he should do a podcast where I interview him. I would love to do Ola interview and ask him specifically about that story. I bet you I got most of it right. There's probably a few things he'll go, nah, not quite on that part. But like I said, generally speaking, that's the way it was presented to me as a dealer at the time, what was happening. So I just want to be clear with that. And then, of course, the diehard Ola's fans will probably know a little bit more. But like I said, I would love to interview him. I think that'd be an interesting story because, like I said, he saw an opportunity and he bet his ass on it, by the way. I mean, that was obvious. It could have went really bad. He could have invested his money and time into that, and it could have literally kind of not worked out. So good on him. I'm glad it worked out for him. Okay, Steve says, hey, can you put a neck humbucker in the bridge or a bridge humbucker in the neck? Absolutely. Ask Eddie Van Halen. Why are the differences in design differently? You rock. So let's look at just the biggest, kind of offender of the strategy of how pickups should be applied to guitars, and it's Eddie Van Halen, right? If you look at the Wolfgang series of guitars by EVH, the neck pickup is a higher output than the bridge pickup. And my favorite story ever happened with that is that when you buy a set of Wolfgang pickups from EVH, one of the wires is longer than the other and the wrong way. I think it's like the bridge wire is longer than the neck, and it's not obviously because the switch is there, but just like a Les Paul, it's like they did it because it throws people off, because if you check them, you go, wait a minute, the high output pickup, is the neck and the low output is the bridge, and it is that way. So essentially what happens is there's a couple reasons why they did what they did, all pickup manufacturers, right? Let's start with the easiest way to look at this. Originally, pickups were the same. So whether it be single coil pickups, Fender, all three pickups were the same. Same winding, same output, same. They didn't really kind of wind the bridge hotter like we see now. There was not a strategy to do so. Humbuckers were the same. They just shoved one in the neck and shoved one in the bridge, and that's just how it went, right? Which is really cool in this pickup series I'm going to do on Instagram. There's a little cool story behind one of that actually piece right there. But So they just did it that way. Over time, maybe through feedback from musicians, maybe just design, they learned that you need to put a higher output pickup in the bridge. And the reason is because obviously when the string moves, when you hit it, it basically, you need a stronger magnetic field where the string is closer to the bridge, and you need less of a magnetic field where the string is closest to the neck. And one of the benefits of this, and keep in mind, is, they were kind of like, if you look at the original Les Paul on the switch, it doesn't make any sense. It was like the bridge is rhythm and the note, right? Is that backwards? Yeah, the neck is rhythm and the bridge is lead. But if you look at most guitar players today, we're the exact opposite. We use the neck pickup for lead playing, right? And you use clean, your neck pickup for clean. And if you're playing distortion, your neck is your lead and your bridge is your rhythm. But they had kind of reversed that logic. They were thinking you're going to play rhythm on the neck and then lead because it's brighter on the bridge. So that was why the change happened. They started changing the bridge pickups and Strats that way too, a little hotter. The John Mayer Silver Sky, if you watch my review, I believe the core Silver Sky or the USA one, they do all three pickups should be the same. I think the readings are slightly off, but I mean, they're supposed to be the same. That's our target. So to answer your question, can you swap it? Absolutely. In fact, you know how many guitar players out there have swap pickup? Famous guitar players from famous songs have things that are wrong all the time because it's, for a long time, there wasn't like F spacing for bridge and there wasn't all this stuff. I mean, people just pulled stuff out and stuck it back in guitars, even guitar techs, and just did it all kinds of weird. There was no internet resource, no manuals. I mean, think about this. There wasn't even pickups. There wasn't aftermarket parts. So to answer your question, you can do it however you want, but typically there is a reason. There is the way it's done. The majority of the time is going to be kind of a good guideline. I do not follow it for all things. I have guitars where the neck is higher output than bridge, and I have guitars where they're the same. Most of my guitars are the same. Just something I learned I liked. So I will, if I put a JB in the bridge, I'll stick a JB in the neck. If I put a 59 in the bridge, I'll put it in the neck. I do that a lot. I just stick it. If I like a pickup, I just put it in the bridge and then I put it in the neck on the same guitar and I just call it a day. I just like it that way. Brillo Head says, I think it's Brillo, says, F spacing, is that important? Well, the theory behind F spacing is obviously it's for a tremolo system, right? Or a Floyd Rose. And the spacing is wider, the string spacing is wider than on a hardtail bridge or like a Les Paul style bridge. And therefore the slugs have been, I think it's like 53 millimeters versus 51 millimeters. 51, it's like 51.1, 53 point whatever, but it's 53 millimeters versus 51 millimeters. And that widened spacing helps line them up under the strings. Obviously, a la Eddie Van Halen, tilting the pickup sideways to kind of line the strings up with the screws kind of logic. A lot of players just did that, you know what I mean? Kind of, pivoted things and try to line them up. Does it help? It's they say it does. I can't tell. I mean, I don't know. Part of the problem is, I think it has to do with what you have gear-wise. So if you have an old Marshall Plexi and no boost pedals and you're like, I'm trying to get a little more gain out of this thing. You're like, I need a super distortion and F space so it sustains better. I mean, sure, that makes sense. But if you're running through an amp that's creating its own distortion, do you really need the pickup, to push that little bit over? Do you need all these other things? I mean, no, I don't think so. I will tell you, and again, because I always kind of like to tell you what I do, and that's an easy thing to follow because you can go, I can tell you my experiences with that. If I was buying a pickup right now for one of my guitars, let's say a guitar with a Floyd or a tremolo, if I was buying a Dimazio or Seymour Duncan pickup right now, or like a Suhr pickup, like a Pete Thorne, would I pick an F-spaced or tremolo-spaced pickup for the bridge? I do. I click it. That's the one I would purchase. However, if I was like, oh, they're out of stock and all they have is the non-tremolo space pickup, I'd just buy that. Like, I wouldn't wait. I'd be like, just stick that in there. I don't care. Because half my tremolo guitars probably have the wrong pickups in them anyways. Not because I put them in there, just even the factory ship them that way kind of wrong. So, there you go. All right. We did it. Right? We did it, right? Oh, I have, hold on. I have one last super chat I missed. It's not even from last week. It's from the week before. I felt horrible. I got most of the ones last week and then I missed his. This is from Jedi Sparky. I think that's Jedi Sparky. He says, hey, what does he say? Oh, did he ask the question today? It was about construction, screws versus flush pole pieces. I think I answered your question already. I'm sorry, buddy. I was trying to get to it and then I missed it. All right. On that note, I want to thank everybody for hanging out and everybody for the super chats and everybody for the support and hanging, doing whatever you're doing and playing guitar and being part of the community. It's pretty fun. I'll see you guys soon. Like I said, thank you again to everybody who entered the contest for the PRS stuff. That was really cool. Like I said, we have more. I was looking at the stuff she has downstairs today. It was pretty cool. A lot of cool stuff. Like I said, I'm excited about. Like I said, we're trying to find unique things to do giveaways. Not so much like, hey, we just got this from a company, but stuff like kind of like the PRS thing, stuff you either can't get or it's hard to get, to make it a little bit more exciting and fun for you guys. And as always, man, thank you guys so much for hanging out. Go play some guitar, spend some time with your family and friends. And until next Friday, know your gear. All right, goodbye.